Are you somebody with stiff hips? Maybe you feel like your lack of hip mobility or stability is negatively impacting your performance as far as gains or maybe athletic performance. Today, we're going to walk through a key component of hip function that we don't really hear talked about much, how we can draw awareness to that, how we can better train that, some cues to help us train that, just how to overall improve hip function to improve our performance in the gym. So sounds like something you need help with. Stick around. We're going to hop into that right now. Talking about this very key, important component of hip function, we're going to be looking at ipsilateral hip shift. Sounds fancy. All it means is ipsi, same side, lateral, moving laterally, hip shift. What that's going to mean is when we get into a more split stance or single leg position, we're going to be shifting our center of mass, or our weight's going to be shifting over a single leg base of support. So I'll show you a few examples in a second, but think like B stance RDL, think step down, think rear foot elevated split squat. This gives us an opportunity where we can't really get into in bilateral positions to get full length of our glute wrapping around our hip. So full hip flexion, internal rotation, key components of hip function. We're going to be able to train this better when we're on this limited base of support or single leg exercise variation. So getting into that, I want to go through a few of those variations in a bit more detail, but kind of a key component we're going to look at here is going to be some cues that we can use in some positions that we want to get acquainted with to make sure that we're doing this correctly. So we'll get into that right now. So I just want to illustrate that point a little bit better. This is going to kind of pertain to things that are like gait cycle in nature. When I step, I have to shift my hips over this limited or single leg base of support. Looking at things like a B stance RDL, you see my hips are pushing to the side. If I'm going to be doing something like a rear foot elevated split squat, the same thing. I have to be able to shift my hips over this single leg base of support. You'll see my knees kind of going in. My hips are off to the side. I use a step down as an example as well as an exercise we're going to look at where we have to do this. We can look at this and kind of envision as my hips push to the side, I'm getting my glute to wrap around my hip. I'm getting really good hip internal rotation. Some key things I want to look at here is going to be my big toe, my knee, and my sternum in line. If you remember anything from this video, this is what I want you to look at. When I'm shifting my center of mass, or when I'm shifting into these more limited base of support exercises, I want to make sure that I'm actually getting to this midline point. Knees in, it's not bad, unless we're getting all the way over here. It's all relative. Maybe I'll hop into that in another video, but generally speaking, as a cue, big toe, knee, sternum in line. That means we're getting really good hip internal rotation. We're getting tibial internal rotation. We're getting foot pronation, all the things that we're going to need up the chain that's going to be associated with this position. So as kind of a teaching tool on these exercises, I love to put myself in front of a mirror so we can actually physically see that we're getting into the right positions. But if we lack the ability to get length into our glutes, we're going to have stiff hips. We're going to have an inability to perform a lot of exercises that we need to grow, to get stronger, to perform in our sport if we can't access those positions. So it's important that we touch this at some point during the week. If not, every training session, we have one exercise where we touch these. So I know I probably introduced more ideas than questions being answered here, but generally speaking, the takeaway I want to be, let's choose an exercise like a step down, like a rear foot elevated split squat, like a B stance RDL, walking lunge, etc. One more unilateral or limited base of support exercise. Let's have that in our program every lower session or at least once a week. Let's make sure that we're expressing hip function and getting that ipsilateral hip shift that we're not going to be getting elsewhere in most programs. If we do those things, our hips are going to be moving a lot better. We're going to be moving a lot better all the way down the chain. It's going to open up a new door for improving performance across the board, regardless of what your goals are. So that sounds like something that will help you. If you have more questions about that, or want me to cover some more ideas in other videos, please reach out. Click the link in bio. I'd love to talk.